Welcome back. Gonna do something to make a modification for my laser cutter today. And basically, I'm in the process of adding active phase change cooling to it. And that involves a whole bunch of extra sensors and readings that I need to display. And well, I'm basically just going to make kind of a module to go on top of the machine that will give me all those readings. And it's going to have a few buttons as well so I can control the menus and such. So I've already thrown in basically the parts that I want. So these are breadboards, and this one is missing one side of it because I only need the one uh, terminal strip. This one I'm going to do the same, and I designed this part in a previous video, so I can say that I want just the J side. So that removes that. So I got two breadboards, or solderless breadboards, whatever you want to call them. And I've got an Arduino Pro Mini here. That is not an endorsement of this product. It's just I have one laying around and I want to get rid of it. And it's hard to find a use for it, so here's the use for it. I've got some header pins. Most of these are just concentric mates, so there's not. I went ahead and did those before I started the video. This last thing, though, um, normally I would design model up a 90-degree header for this, which I should probably do at some point. But this is the board I'm using is actually pretty old, and it uses an oddball 90-degree header that doesn't really match with what I've got anyway, or what pretty much anyone has anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and draw in, show you how I made something like this to something like this. And how I'm going to do that is I'm not going to edit this component. I'm just going to put a sketch on it. I'm going to do a center rectangle here. I'm going to say this is equal to that, just because we want it fully defined. And look, this is a 0.62 width pin. So we got that. Select the point, select the face. No, we need to get out of the sketch first. So we want to mate using the face and the point. And OK. And that'll be kind of a slowed update, but you hit Control Q and it updates. Um, in addition, we've got a button. There's actually going to be 3 buttons, but at this point it's just easier to only have the one there. And we've got a character display, which is 20 characters across, and then 2 rows. So, best get started. Basically mating all this stuff in space. So, I already have a couple of planes here in this to make it easier to set up. So I'm going to mate that so it's mated center. And I'm going to go onto the Z0 plane. And actually, I'll go ahead and make a couple mates right away on that. And all right. So go on the Z0 plane and do another sketch. And just going to draw a rectangle real quick. Do a midpoint with the origin. I took some measurements. So this needs to be 170 millimeters wide. And there's going to be an access hole going into the bottom of it, which is 30 millimeters diameter. And it is centered. And it is centered 96 millimeters from the front. for construction. And then, excuse me, we have this. We already have. Basically, I want to start by figuring out how they're going left to right, then forward to back after that. So, see how wide this is. So that is 82.1. So I'm going to do a center rectangle, make it 82.1, and measure this way. Oh, that's 44. And I'll just go tangent with this access hole, so it's not blocking it, but it's right up against the edge of it. And this is going to be the same as that, just rotated. So I want a center rectangle. And even though it's down here, I can still do a coincident with this line. Let's say this is equal to that. And this is equal to that. And this is tangent with that. And then that's locked down. So based on that sketch, I'm going to go ahead and place a couple of mates in. So I'm going to click here and here, and here and here, and here and here, and actually that's not quite right. So this, I actually don't want this to be centered, this rectangle, because I want this connector to be centered. So let's make a little modification here, and let's see. I can't directly control this because it's already controlled by another sketch. What I can do, get out of here, do Control Q twice just to be sure, and then measure from here to here. It's 11.19. Oh, I want to edit this sketch, and make a new thing, or let's see, 11.19 from the edge. And then make another rectangle, 15.2. Put coincident on that. And put a coincident on that. And go ahead and make these equal just for good measure. And doesn't really matter where these are, but I do want them dimensioned at least so they're not floating around. And I'll do an equal there as well. So then this should be the edge of that. That should center it. And still want this to be there. And let's see, use this plane as a parallel. And do a Control Q real quick. So it's not happy about one of those constraints. Get rid of that old constraint, and it should be good. Do another Control Q just to be sure. So that breadboard needs one more thing constraining it. So I can go from here to here and do a mate. So that one's locked down. So now the only thing that's not locked down are the display and the switch. And before we go any further onto that, I just want to double check that we take our center to there, 7.6. We take our center to there, 7.6. So that worked at least. And let's see. Next thing, before we can position this, we kind of need to add another feature of sorts. It's going to be a new part. It's actually not going to be made. Actually, I'll give it a name right away. Let's call it Keep Out. And this is the area where I want to avoid putting anything because it might get in the way of components that plug into these boards. Because I don't necessarily know what components will be plugging into these boards in the future, because, well, if I knew that, I could just make soldered circuit boards and be done, but things change. So basically just cover the whole board, do a extrude, gonna give it a color, so that's nice and easy to notice. And there we go. And then I'm gonna put a mate on this display to set its angle of no, I want an angle of 30 degrees. And basically this will be right up against the back of a piece of acrylic, and so will this part of the button, so might as well get those done right away. And then this has a plane right here, and this has a plane right here. I'm going to mate those up so that's centered. And I'm actually going to modify this a little bit, because I'm going to have to give up a little bit of space if I want this thing to be remotely compact. And basically the back half of this breadboard I'll focus on. If I need taller components, I'll put it in the back half. Shorter ones would be in the front half. And put that to the midpoint then. Do an extruded cut through all. And close that. So then that gives me a little bit more clearance room there. And this positioning of this button is going to be tricky. It's probably going to be like one of the last things I do. But I do want to make sure that it's at least a good distance away from here. So I already had some selected. So I'm going to mate like that. Give it a distance of, say, probably need at least 12 bare minimum. So this can still move up and down, and that'll be something I have to figure out later, but I want at least a little bit of safety margin there. And then this can move up and down as well, or forward and back. So what if we put a constraint there? Then it can kind of slide, but that's its last degree of freedom. And this is apparently fully defined. And that's no good. That's way too low. A bit too low, so I'm going to get rid of that mate. so that we can actually have that high enough. And you want the bottom of this to be clear of the bottom here by figure at least 10 millimeters. Which will probably lock this down entirely. And that is fine being as a fix. So then this is the only thing that's still really moving freely. And I need to think of how I want to deal with that. I think if I put a sketch on here and make those concentric, and I make, well, let's do an intersection curve. Oh wait, I don't have intersection curve there. Okay, it does not want to do an intersection curve, fair enough. Let's draw a line. It really does not want to cooperate. At all. Alright. So how to deal with that? Seems like every method it's blocking me. Right. That's not going to work either. Alright. Let's put a sketch down here. Or actually, let's edit this sketch. No reason to add extra stuff. These parallel and equal. Make this for construction. And edit this sketch again. Put a point. And make it pierce. So that point is finally set. And this be horizontal. Alright. So that gets me what I've been trying to get. Do a tangent. And alright. And then I want, let's see, this is the part that will actually be lit up. So that's the only part that's actually going to be seen through the screen. So that's the part that I want to mate to. And do a Control Q. And everything is in its place. So I'm going to hit save. And looks like we're clear there. We're clear there. Alright. So then I'm going to put in a new part again. And I'm going to select that part and click, actually, before I do anything with it, I'm going to float it, grab the origin, the assembly origin, and mate those together. Since I don't like fixed parts when I don't have to have them fixed. So edit this component. And we need to start putting in, basically I just want some surface bodies, and I can work from there. I'm going to sketch on here and just draw a rectangle. Say it's, well, I'm going to make these surfaces a lot bigger than they actually need to be. So grab that, put a point here, not a midpoint, because I want it to be able to slide easily. Pierce that as well. And yeah, way bigger than it actually needs to be. I think that's fine. just kind of guide surfaces. So, and then grab a planar surface, and let's see. Let's edit the sketch again. Just add that circle and that rectangle. So I've got those holes there. And let's see, we need bottom, sides, back, all that good stuff. So draw on the Z0. And just basically copy this rectangle. Make another planar surface. Alright. And then back here, I'm going to draw right on there. Sketch. And first of all, I'm going to convert this hole back here, or this rectangle. Do it for construction. Offset it by 4, I think. Gives me plenty of room to work with, because I want to put a fillet of 2 on there. And then I need an actual bona fide rectangle. So grab that that plane so I can center it. And I can go onto this face. Then the height and width are kind of mysterious so far. So we'll just make them bigger than they need to be and deal with trimming them later. So planar again. Alright. And now I want to make a actual plane. And it's going to be going between here and the highest point, which I believe is here. I'm not sure if that hits. Nope, it doesn't quite hit. Alright, so draw that plane in. And want a little bit of, well, do I want a little bit of space there? Yeah, I think I am going to want some space there. And the reason is, actually, let me get rid of this plane. The reason I'm probably going to want some space is I've got these letters, and it's going to be something like this. Well, basically I'm going to have a bunch of little sections of this display, and they need to be labeled. Let's draw one in for now. And so it needs to come outside of the display area. Then I want a little bit of a safe distance. So do coincident to the edge of the display area. These are both, these are all parallel. And I want, say, 2 millimeters of clearance. Then I want a couple of rectangles. And I want that midpoint. Do a midpoint to midpoint and make it parallel here. Parallel. And I want it to be, the text is going to be 4.5 high. And because it's about as small as I can get away with while it's still visible from a distance, from a little bit of distance at least. And And that means that I'm going to want about a third of that, so that much spacing. So I need that much room above. Let me double check that I've got that much room below as well. So make these all parallel with that. Make these equal. Couple of rectangles. Go midpoint and midpoint to midpoint. Make these parallel and equal. Make these equal and these equal. And if I drag this way out, still pretty well clear of the button. So I need the inside to be above this, and probably want it to be above it by that much just for cosmetic reasons. So let's go parallel and equal. And then to make the plane creation a little bit easier, you gotta go, actually no, that don't even need to do that. Let's get out of the sketch. And I can take the plane tool, grab this edge and this point, and we're fully defined. And then I can sketch on that plane and pick these two, say intersection curve, and then draw a line to connect them, so make it a rectangle. Again, all these are like the inside of the material, so it'll all be going outwards from where it is. And yeah, that makes me wonder how much space I actually have right here. So 4.2. So we're pretty tight right there. That's a bit of an issue. So I'm gonna get out of here. And let's see, how did I end up locking these down? I ended up locking with this, I believe. Yeah. So let me suppress that. And from here back, I want, so from here to here, I need, let's see, figure at least 4 in front of the material. And just for safety, I'm going to give space of 3 for the material itself. So 4 plus 3 is 7. All right. So I want to make a new plane. And this is going to be related to this by being angled 30 degrees. And actually, this sketch is pointless because I have this old sketch here. So let's just offset this one line by 7. Then I can take a plane. I want it to be coincident with that. And I want it to be angled from that by 30 degrees. All right. That works. And then I want to grab that plane and say that it is coincident with that. And that is not ideal at all. Alright. What can I do about this then? I can give this a little bit less space behind it. That's one thing I could try. Cut it down to maybe as low as 8. And yeah, everything's kind of turned into a mess now. Let me just suppress this to sure. And let's get rid of this angle. And that tangent got flipped. So let's try. It won't even let me flip it. I just have to delete it and recreate it. Alright, it's not happy about this. And for some reason that pierce point is bad now. But if I recreate it, oh, because now it's in there. That's fine. Alright, then I can zoom way in here, grab this face, zoom way back out, and give it a tangent mate. Okay, disaster undone. Let's see if this comes back to life. Seems to have. Alright, let's save this. And then we need sides. And since this is kind of rotated, and I've already got an angle here, I'd like to kind of angle it in towards the back as well. Let's edit this component. And it's going to start from here. Let's do a 3D sketch. So it's going to start from there. And then it needs to come in, and it's going to be close to this. Actually, I think it sticks out more on this side. So it's going to be close to this, but I want a little bit of wiggle room. So how I'm going to get that is I'm just going to draw from there. I'm going to say this is perpendicular. Oh no, I want to select the face and make it normal. And then I'll do dimension to that face. Just say 3 millimeters. Just not a whole lot of wiggle room, just enough to make things a little bit easier to fit in there. And then, so I've got a point and I've got a line to work with. So I'm done with that 3D sketch. Make a plane, and it's going to be from this point to this line. And I just need basically drawing a big old rectangle, and we can trim it later. So just go double equal, dimension it to be say 700, and do a planar surface. So that is the basic gist of the outline, or of the shape. So let's hide some of this unnecessary or stuff we don't really necessarily need to see anymore. And mirror this. Oh. Let's mirror this across. So that's all closed up on all its sides. All right. Then we can do some splitting. So let's trim this and this and this. Oh. Use those trims to trim this. And yeah, I'll just select them all. I can delete them after. All right, and then do another split. And I want to use this, 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 and this to split this and this. So that's by itself. That's by itself. And then we got that left over and that left over. All right. Let's do another split. We want to use this and this. To split this. So let's hide this part. Then we have that and that left over. And then we need just a little bit more splitting. So I'm going to take those, and that. Use it to split that. And this is the part I don't want. Alright. And I can leave this as it is for now. It's not really getting in my way too much. Also, this is a virtual component right now. I'm going to make it not a virtual component. Oh. Do a save. Open. File, save as. I don't know why it's doing that. But, there. Now it's not a virtual component at least. And let's see. From here, I think it doesn't matter how much my material changes as far as thickness of material and such. These things here are pretty much just going to stay the same. So with that in mind, and because I don't want to run into a whole bunch of problems with saving later, because SolidWorks sometimes freaks out, I'm just going to basically trace this as a shape in space. And just grab every edge, put a line over it. And convert this. that. Convert this. Convert that. Alright, so now I've got basically just lines to represent everything I've got. I'm going to go to display, delete relations, and delete all. Then select all, and I'm just going to fix them. That way, I believe I should be able to just suppress everything that came before there, and those remain. Which means I can delete everything that came before there. And then that way I don't have any external references. So let's save that. And let's see. I'm gonna want to put these back in now. And so grab this, and this, convert, and be a filled surface, even though it's planar. I can still draw on it. Actually, I can't. Well, that's annoying. Alright. Well, let's select this and this. Actually, in my 3D sketch, I'll go ahead and put the planes in there. Save myself a little bit of headache. So, got a plane, got a plane, got a plane at the bottom, got a plane at the back, got a plane at the front, and so then if I say sketch on this plane, take those and this, convert it, planar surface. There we go. I can grab this plane, go grab these, convert them into a planar surface. Then, let's see, this plane. Let's grab these, convert them into a planar surface. This plane. Let's see, that. Select chain, convert, planar surface. Go in the back, and I want this plane. Select this chain, convert it, and select these, convert them, and do a planar surface. And I can then do a mirror for that last plane to close it up. Then I can hide this sketch. And there, now we've got our base for everything without any external references to an assembly that is full of big parts and can give us all sorts of trouble when we try to divorce them. Right. So that's looking good to me as a starting point anyway. And let's put in something here. That's just an approximation. Even acrylic is not 100% accurate. Although it's better than wood. I'm kind of tempted to do this out of like a nice wood, but I think I'm going to go with acrylic anyway. So, gonna sketch in this plane, gonna convert all the inner loops, and convert those. So it's gonna be equal to material thickness. And gonna go up here, basically do the same thing. Say this is equal to my material thickness. And I don't want to merge it. So already we've got a little bit of fun right there. How it doesn't really interlock, and I want it to interlock. So think how I can do that. Think how I can do that. Okay, let's drop here. And gonna make this in a line. And maybe just 5 millimeters wide. It's pretty small, but let's go a little bit smaller. Just make it look really nice and fine. Those equal. And I want this to be well longer than it needs to be. So let's select this chain. Do a linear pattern following this edge. And spacing is going to be 8. And let's try 10, 20, 22, 21, 20. Okay, get rid of this dimension here. And we want to put in another line just like this, just like at the other end. Say this is for construction, and it is also equal. That's for construction too. And one more line for construction and equal. So these end up being a little over 4, but not much. Hide this for a second. And hide this for a second. And extrude up to here. And merge it. Bring this back. Oh, and bring this back. So then, if I just sketch on here, and I do, just gonna put a circle right on the origin, make this like pretty big. Doesn't need to be quite that big, maybe. Do an extruded cut through all, going the other way, and only applying to this one part. And let me hide this, and hide this, and let's normal to this. And I just want to cut off those because I can only do normal cuts. Go through all, applying to that part. Alright. So then this one kind of needs the matching opposite made into it. Yeah, that is kind of cutting in there, but we'll deal with that. It's not the most simple, get it done the first try kind of method. You kind of have to cut and use it to cut itself, and use it to cut itself, and so forth. Do a linear pattern going along this way. I think I did 20. And coincident. Make that 21, I guess. And make it too long. And we'll extrude up to there. Alright. Same thing here. Gonna trim those off with just a rough circle. And hide that. Normal to that. Do a sketch to cut off the non-normal parts of this. All in there. Alright, so that's kind of matching up. Still going to need to do a little bit of cutting to keep the intersection away, but we'll come back to that. Because I've got plenty more pieces to do here. So let's see, this one starts with a gap here, so it should probably start with a gap in the back as well. But let me make this back plant panel first. So let me convert the inside, convert the outside. Say this is equal to material thickness, and I don't want to merge it, and I want to go that way. And let me hide this again. So these are going to link up together as well. So starts with the gap like that. So I figure I might as well just have starting with gap on both ends of the top panel. And I started it as trying to be 4, so I'll again start this as trying to be 4 and adjust for it as needed. Make that for construction and equal. Make this 10. Select this chain and do a linear pattern along this edge. 8 spacing, maybe 5 or 7. 7 looks about right. Get rid of this dimension. And for construction and equal. And then one more line. For construction and equal. And let's extrude up to here. And merge result with that. And I'll kind of do the same thing down here. And let's see. Well, let me just do that. All right. Make these 10. I think I need to do a pattern of 8 this time. And grab that and that. And go up to this surface. Alright. Make sure it only merges with the one that I want. Yep. Alright. Okay, so trim those down. And I can just pick a point. Make this 500. Do an extruded cut through all, going backwards, applying only to this. Kind of do the same thing here. Go 500. Do an extruded cut through all, going backwards, only applying to this. So there's definitely some interference there, obviously. We've got at least our basic tooth idea down. That's all I'm working towards right now, is just getting the idea down. Do the fine tuning afterwards. So need this side panel. And see, we made this 170. And I think it's actually 175 we've got to work with, so that's okay. Sketch on that, convert it, equals material thickness, result, and we want it to be going outward. All right. And I might as well do this side too while I'm at it. Good deal. Let's hide these surfaces again. And need to do some linking in here. Take a break, be right back.